What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. We are breaking down the Eagles' initial 53-man roster, top takeaways, biggest question marks heading into the regular season. Rob Langy at Philly_Madness joins us, of course. What's up, Rob?
Hey, man, I get, this year was a weird 53-man roster release because I think, like we said, last week, there were a lot of interesting decisions to be made. I think it was really tough. A lot of guys got cut. You feel for a guy like Kayvon Wallace, who had really a strong preseason. But, the numbers, Justin Evans came on strong. I mean, and Cindy Brown played well, and they wanted to keep more in certain areas. But there are a few question marks. I'm sure we'll get into today, but I'm more excited to know that we're 8 days away from like a real football game.
That's the take, right? Like the Eagles are healthy for the most part. They're heading into a season with the most hype ever. We did a show, Birds of the Roundtable, last night. I believe all but two positions for the Eagles in 2023 we graded better than 2022, man. That's nuts, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's exciting, man. Like normally I get a little leery when, the Eagles go into a season and they're like favorites. But there's something about this team. There's something about the mentality from Sirianni to Hurts all the way down. So I'm just excited to get it going.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in. First question mark of the evening. Is 4 wide receivers efficient for the 2023 season? As you lead, I'm going to get up the roster here so we can have it on screen. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought, they may go 6, let alone just going 5. They elected to keep 4. I'd be surprised if that stands. I almost wonder if they're like waiting to see how things started to play out. Or there was a report today that the thought is you get Britton Covey on the practice squad and then you elevate him for games so that he could be your return man. Which is kind of what they did, if you remember, as long as they could last year until they had to give him a roster spot. So maybe he's wide receiver 5. And it also answers my biggest question because, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I guess it's a lot longer than I think now, but there was a year they went into a season with no punt returner. And they went to Green Bay for the season opener and they fumbled 2 punts, one with a minute and a half left in the game. And I was there. So why I remember it. Greg Lewis and fumbled a punt and they lost the game. So they need to have a punt returner, even if it's Britton Covey. I know he's not the sexy pick, but he was shorthanded last year.
Who do you think returns the kicks? Is it like Boston Scott? Like, what is it?
God, I hope not, because I don't think he's very good at it. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where they're thinking about going. I don't know if they're trying to get one of these young guys that they kept on the roster to, maybe try and play. But that makes me nervous. I don't like not having a set return man come weekend. So I hope something shakes out with that before we get to that game against New England, because I'm haunted by that past that would happen that year I was in Green Bay.
Yeah, it's such a weird state of the wide receiver position. Like on one end, your top 2 wide receivers, 100% of the NFL are jealous of how good those 2 are, best 2 of the NFL. And then you get the death point, like Quez Watkins. Is he healthy for the regular season? I don't like. He's got major question marks. Oz, we'll see what he looks like, but they don't really have Zach Pascal type of wide receiver on this roster for the run game. And one bad injury away from some real depth concerns for this team.
You almost wonder if it speaks like, are they going to go a lot of 2 running backs out there? Are they going to go, I don't know, DeAndre Swift out in the slot and Penny in the backfield so that you only need to have, 3 wide receivers out there with a tight end and Dallas Goedert. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I just find it really hard to believe that they're going to go into game days with only 4 wide receivers for us. It just doesn't seem very Sirianni or Eagles-like to me.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to our next biggest question mark. And you kind of alluded to it there, and it's a really great point. Are 4 tight ends too much? And I think the interesting take here is that the Eagles are already running a significant amount of 12 personnel. I think we could see even more. They actually weren't that great in 12 personnel in 2022 comparatively. But yeah, they added a new guy in Albert O. That's the big thing here. I'm not a Jack Stoll guy. I'm not a Grant Calcaterra guy. Like those two have big question marks. They're basically role players. Stoll, he doesn't give you anything from the receiving game. Only 15 catches in 33 career games. Calcaterra's only caught 5 passes as a rookie. Doesn't give you anything as a blocker. You look at Albert O, this guy's a much better player. He's bigger. He's more athletic. He can help you in the pass and the run game. If you put him and Dallas Goedert, man, I'm really intrigued. What's your take on this question and Albert O?
Yeah, I almost wonder if they kept 4 here, knowing that they're going to have to add a punter to the roster, and this is the position that kind of loses one of those spots. Maybe Grant Calcaterra gets released and then put on the practice squad or something like that. The Albert O was intriguing because I didn't even think about that's such a Howie move, right? Like the cuts are getting ready to happen, and he trades for a tight end, like exactly the opposite of what anybody probably was thinking at that point. But I look, the kid has shown promise at times. I know he hasn't gotten, what a lot of people expected out of him. I guess Howie referenced that he had a 100-yard game in the last preseason game, and like you said, we'll see. I mean, you're talking about the second tight end spot here, which is going to be one where you're going to have to block. You're not going to be asked to catch too many passes, So I'm okay with it. I have a feeling that whoever the 4th tight end is on their depth chart right now, when they sign a punter, he goes. I think that's one of the positions you look at cutting a guy down off of.
Yeah, like you said, this was definitely a Howie move. One of those moves that has low price, but big time upside. Say hi.
So you got your child, and I got my 4th child, right?
Daddy. Daddy, time to go.
You're gonna go to the party. All right, have fun.
Are you going?
No, I'm gonna do this. All right.
Daddy, hug.
Love you.
Oh, there you go. We give you whole family entertainment here.
All right, let's roll on to our next question. Eli Ricks makes the team. I feel like we're going to be talking about him later. Are the Eagles too heavy at cornerback? Any thoughts?
I don't think you can be too heavy at cornerback. I think you got 2 aging vets. Well, not aging vets, but Darius Slay's an aging vet, and then you have James Bradbury. But it's young. Everybody behind them is young. You're talking Eli Ricks. You're talking Mario Goodrich. You're talking Josh Jobe. That Avonte Maddox has battled injuries in the past, which is why I think that Goodrich is on this team because of the slot scenario there a little bit. And look, Ricks did enough to make this roster. And, once again, not to quote Howie, but you talk about pedigree. This was a number 1 recruit out of high school. He went to LSU, has some Alabama. I mean, this kid can play, and he made the most of his opportunities in the preseason. And I don't think you can ever have too many cornerbacks, because God forbid Darius Slay gets hurt or James Bradbury has to miss a couple weeks. You want guys you could trust. And, I've loved Josh Jobe since last year, and I think he has continued to get better. So I kind of like it. I kind of like what they're doing because not only are they thinking about this year, they're obviously trying to build for the future. When you take all the young guys they kept, and then you factor in something we won't talk about this season, but Rodgers coming over from Indianapolis, being suspended a year. These are, they're trying to prepare for the future as well as win now, which is what Howie said. You don't know if you could trust it, but these are those types of moves.
Yeah, this is really interesting, especially more so the coaching staff. Like this guy, this defensive backs coach, DK McDonald, heading into this season, what was your biggest concern? The defensive backs. I was really kind of concerned what we were going to get. That was only like a month ago. And now everything we've seen from camp to the preseason, like I'm weirdly confident in what we've got out of these Eagles defensive backs from a 2023 perspective. And like you said, in 2024, 2025, like cornerback is one of those like positions like edge rushers. Like I look at spending premium assets at the top of the draft to get. Like it is a passing league. You can never have enough elite talent at cornerback. And I don't know. I think Keely Ringo. I think Eli Ricks. I think all these guys have definite upside to be starters in 2 years. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. And look, you bring up Keely Ringo, and I know you've been a proponent of this from the word go with him. He's on the roster as a corner, but is his future a corner? Is his future getting shifted over to safety? With Sidney Brown in the future and things of that nature. You don't know, but you don't let it. Obviously, you're not going to let him go. He was a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, whatever it was. You're going to keep a guy with the Georgia pedigree, and you're going to find ways to play him. And someone else brought up a great point to me the other day. Something that has haunted this teams is their special teams coverage, and you wonder if some of these younger cornerback bodies are guys that could get downfield and not be such a hindrance to this team. So the younger corners, I don't know if they're going to do it, but like I look at Sidney Brown, and if he's not going to be the starting safety, I would love the idea of Sidney Brown coming down and just laying the wood on return.
He will do that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe that's why you keep these younger defensive backs, because you're trying to build that special teams up as well, so that you don't need things like, if you remember a few years back, like Malcolm Jenkins had to play special teams. Yeah. You don't want your starters to have to do that. Yeah. So that could also be, I think, a reason why they're doing this. But why not? Why not? They're young and talented.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like Eli Ricks, I think, has earned snaps over Keely Ringo as he kind of figures out what his best role is in the NFL. Josh Jobe, outside quarter potential. It's really fun. And I can't forget Mario Goodrich, who I think is the heir apparent for replacement for Avonte Maddox in the near future. So good stuff. Good stuff. Let's roll on to a big question. We haven't gotten the answer yet. But what the heck are the Eagles going to do at punter?
They've got to have a plan, right? Like Howie's not going to go into this season. like if he look, I'm glad he did it. Aaron Sipos did not cut it. The young kid did not cut it. There's a punter out there. He's got some character issues, but he was exonerated. Does Howie have it in his bag to say, hey, this dude can punt the ball? He was exonerated. He may have character issues, but this is the type of locker room that a guy with character issues can grow in. Is that his thought? I know that they're doing a punting competition, but have any names come out? Do we know who's going to be here for that?
I have no idea, man. I found a few names, but I'll be honest, like I'm the last person to give you any sort of analysis on, these backup punters. Like there's a guy named Pat O'Donnell. He's 32 years old. He doesn't have very good numbers. There's another guy named Corliss Waitman, who's 28. And then there's another guy named Blake Gillikin. Those are like the big three that I'm seeing that could be potentially Eagles, but I don't know. Punt God, why not?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, it's not like, look, there's no legalness. That it's all done. Like, that's over. It's in the past. I'm not saying I condone anything that he was accused of doing, but if there's been an organization willing to give second chances to guys, it's been the Philadelphia Eagles since the Andy Reid era. Like, that's not anything new. And they have – listen, there are some that say, me included, one of the biggest plays in the Super Bowl was that stupid punt from Aaron Sipos that allowed Darius Toney to get return. That ball should have been nowhere near him. You need a punter. Go punt. I'm pounding the pavement for the punt god right now.
Yeah, Sipos sucked, man. He per Pro Football Focus, he was the second worst punter with a grade of 58.3. In the preseason, he had 5 punt attempts. He only averaged 42 yards a punt. His longest was 49, and he failed to record a touchback. it's kind of a weird position. Like at one point, like you said, I'm excited to see Siposs finally gone. On the other hand, it's like, what, we're just kind of like waiting. It's a weird feeling. Like we need a punter, man.
You also need to find a guy that can hold, because wasn't Siposs holding for Elliott? So I mean, don't act like that's not that's a big deal. Those kickers, they want their holders. So we'll have to see. Yeah. Although Elliott missed a few in the preseason, so I'll blame Siposs for that too.
Yeah, that's fine. Or is that Zentner? Was that Zentner? I don't know.
I don't know.
All right. Last question of the night. What was the biggest surprise from the Eagles' initial 53-man roster?
I mean, we talked about some of them, but I'm going to go with something a little different that we haven't touched on. 3 linebackers. Now, I know that they're going to say that the edge rushers are linebackers, but I'm talking about that core where they only keep Nakobe Dean, Cunningham, Christian Ellis. They released Nick Morrow. I didn't think Nick Morrow had a strong preseason, and I get it, but, that's a little concerning to me because you have the unproven Nakobe Dean, you have the unproven Christian Ellis, and then you have a veteran like Zach Cunningham, but he came in late to camp. Are they looking at the waiver wire to add a 4th body there? Listen, I love Nakobe Dean, and I hope he works out. But I also want to make sure, God forbid, he's not working out, or God forbid there's an injury, they've got the opportunity, they've got a guy that could come in and play. And, I know Christian Ellis is a great story right now, but I don't know if I can sit here today and say if Nakobe Dean goes down, I'm okay with Christian Ellis. So that's a position I'm curious if they're just going to stay set with the 3 there.
Yeah. I think mine is Contavious Street. That I don't understand it. He's a defensive tackle that can kind of give you some versatility. You can play some edge. I think that's what the plan is, to kind of have Jalen Carter do some of that as well. So maybe he's like the backup to Jalen Carter, whereas Marlon Tuipulotu is the backup to Jordan Davis as a nose tackle. Maybe that's what they're thinking, but I'm surprised they're so high on him. Do you buy the Contavious Street stock?
I don't know if I buy it, but I'm not against it. I almost wonder if they also, like you said, because he plays a little edge, are they thinking they're going to trade Derek Barnett? Derek Barnett's now out there looking for a trade. We've talked about this with the tight ends. Is Contavious Street the body that's on the roster right now? But if they add to a different position somewhere, Contavious Street goes, so maybe that's it. And they, didn't want to let him go with the first wave. And I don't know, maybe in hopes of getting him to the practice squad, whatever it may be. So I don't know if I buy the stock, but I'm always fine with them keeping more linemen on both sides of the ball than less. I'm glad they kept Fred Johnson and Sua Opeta this year, just because I think you just want to have as many bodies at those 2 positions that you can have.
Yeah, it seems like Moro Ojomo's back at practice, which is great news.
Yes.
We're going to see a lot of rotation, man. We're going to see, depending on the week, I think, between the defensive line and the running back position especially, I think it's just going to be like a week-to-week thing. And depending on matchups, how the Eagles decide to utilize them. That's just my gut feeling. Kenny Gainwell is going to get more touches one week. Then it's going to be, Rashad Penny. Then it's going to be I don't think there's any true RB1 or DT1 in this.
No. I think it's even like that, and you've heard this debate. I think it's like that in the wide receiver room. I think those guys both believe they're both number 1 receivers, not in a I'm against you sort of way, but in a, hey, we're going to do this thing together. One week it may be A.J. Brown killing it. One week it may be Devontae Smith killing it. I think they are. And listen, I know I harp on this a lot, but that's coaching, man. Nick Sirianni came in as an unknown guy, and in 2 years has got these guys, and it helps to have a leader like Jalen Hurts. They all buy into it. They just buy in. The egos have been checked at the door. Sometimes you'll see them in the middle of the season, but they never become a huge deal, right? Think of last year. A couple of times A.J. Brown looked a little disappointed. It never became a huge deal. They all got it rung back in, and that's what I love about this team.
Yeah, and it helps when you load up on all business, all SEC players. This Eagles team is completely loaded with these guys.
How many years did we scream for that? How many years did we scream for that?
Right?
I can remember doing draft preview shows for the last 4 or 5 years saying, go to the SEC, draft LSU, Alabama, Georgia, draft these guys. This is the schools you want to go to, not Saginaw Valley State, where every once in a blue moon you get a guy like a Todd Herremans who's a prolific starter for you. But for the most part, you just don't know. And give Howie credit. Howie pivoted because he never did that. He never went this route. And now he's built a team. I don't think you can look on either side of the ball at any position group and not see at least one guy from Alabama, Georgia, or anything like that.
Dude, even Mario freaking Goodrich went to Clemson.
Yeah. Lowly Clemson is where Mario.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's just a step ahead. Like how he's playing chess, man. I absolutely love it. That essentially wraps it up. Final thoughts on the Eagles 53-man roster and plugs. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the roster's full. You know, you never. It's the initial 53-man, right? Like this is going to change. There's obviously we know one change. Like they're not going to go into week 1 without a punter on the roster. So some change has got to happen there. As far as plugs, catch me here every week, Party on Broad. If you live in Southern New Jersey and you're in the Deptford area on Saturday, my real estate company will have a booth at. There's like an Eagles pep rally they do in the Deptford Mall parking from like 1 to 5. I think Brandon Graham's going to be there. Is Reed Blankenship going to be with him? I think Reed might be with him too. Cool. So come on out. You can meet a couple Eagles. Come say hello at the Plum Real Estate Group table.
Love it, man. Guys, thank you everyone for watching. We will be back again Wednesdays at 6. If you love the college football season, we have college football previews up the wazoo, man. Top prospects to watch, Eagles draft targets, best games of the week. Short videos on them, biggest takeaways from week 0, man. We are your destination for college football. So please be sure to check that out. He is Rob Langy at Philly_Madness. I am Dibs for Rob, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.